earlier, he talked about that the white hats had gone into every country and had been able to identify people in the military, and they're not the ones at the top, they're kind of in the middle, that were willing to fight for the people. When it, push comes to shove, they would fight for the people and fight against the upper brass if they had to, because that's who they are supposed to defend, is the people. They won't turn on them. And the white hats, they know who they are, and maybe they've even been working with them. I don't know. But that's something to think about. Okay, Pandora's Papers. I want to read you something about that from Q the Storm Rider, and I'll do that in a moment. There was the CIA cable warning every CIA base that troubling numbers of foreign informants who have been killed, arrested, or turned into double agents. Data of more than 1.5 billion Facebook users is sold on a popular forum dedicated to hacking. Now that's just great. And Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Messenger have not been working for more than an hour. The cost of disconnection tool has calculated approximate losses for the global economy in the amount of $160 million per hour. All right, let's see what we have. If you want to read more about the Facebook stuff, there's several bullet points here about it. I think it goes back to the an earlier cyber attack in August, solar something, and they gained access to all of these different sites, and then now they're able to hack, and it could be related to that. Okay, and then the rest is all about the Zim redemptions and currency and exchange rates and stuff. And finally, on one of these, it says the shares of leading American IT companies continue to fall because of all of this mess. And I guess it's going to get worse. So people who aren't awake and they are in the stock market or in the IT field, or, and they start to see all this stuff breaking down, you're probably going to see some big time stressing out. And because they know it might kill them, yeah, they're going to freak out too. This is going to cause a lot of stress. A lot of people are going to just not be able to handle it. Just some things about what's happening in Iran and with the Sea of Japan and Taiwan and China and so forth. And we'll go from there. Okay, here's a fun fact about the CIA. The CIA is a filthy agency. Oh, really? So filthy they had a front group called the Finders. The Finders warehouse contained a large library, 2 kitchens, a sauna, hot tub, and a video room. The video room seemed to be set up as an indoctrination center. The organization had the ability to produce its own videos. There appeared to be training areas, what appeared to be an altar set up in a residential area of the warehouse. All investigation of the Finders cult by the FBI, U.S. Customs, and local law enforcement was stopped by the U.S. Justice Department on the grounds of national security. And the matter of the Finders cult was turned over to the Central Intelligence Agency as an internal security matter, since the Finders is and has been a domestic and international covert operation of the CIA. So they send it back to the people who are doing it so they can self-police themselves. Yeah. I heard about this group like 2 or 3 years ago, and I had a channel on YouTube back then, and I talked about it, and I got a phone call late at night at midnight. No one else on the other end, but it was enough to scare me. it was more like, it was like a threat or something, not to talk about this. And, you know, I feel safer now to talk about it since everything is kind of, lots of people have been arrested. But back then I was, you know, that really freaked me out. It says all evidence was suppressed and denied, and the who had been arrested in the act, and the CIA resumed its ongoing covert operation of the Finders Cult, which is used to procure and produce the story of the Finders Cult is the story of the development assets to be used to entrap politicians, diplomats, corporate and law enforcement officials, to raise money for covert operations, to train to be professional operatives and assassins of a totally cold, multi-personality, mind-controlled nature. That must be the MKUltra project that they do. The CIA has got its, you know, it's an outbranch of the Nazi OSS, and it's you know, all those programs like MKUltra, we hear about, like the woodpecker grids at China Lake, where they're getting babies, you know, really young, and they've kind of gotten the splitting of the personality down to a science, and they put them in these cages and electrocute them. I mean, it's that's just a little bit. It's horrible. It's insane. And this is our government, supposedly, and they're using our tax money. I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, I don't even know what to say, but I'm glad it's starting to come out. That's for sure, because people need to know that our government was doing that. Okay, so these are some news items at Telegram, and a little bit of history as well. I like to include some info memes in there sometimes, just to throw in some of the conspiracy stuff that is actually true. So this first one, and I've heard of this one before. Hi, I'm Beverly Eckert. My husband was killed during the 9/11 attacks. I rejected $1.8 million from the government and filed a lawsuit against them instead. I was a loudmouth and a well-known figure in the 9/11 truth movement. Coincidentally, days after meeting President Obama, I died in a plane crash. That's no coincidence. This is coming from the Epic Times. Over 1,000 Kellogg's U.S. cereal plant workers go on strike over cut to benefits and pay. And just one more story about a food supply probably being affected. And then this is Tucker Carlson exposing the liberal agenda, which, hey, I'm sorry, I already knew that like 20 years ago, maybe long. I mean, this is so obvious. They've been doing this for years. And then the Republicans, you know, they help out too. It's really not the liberal agenda. It's the New World Order agenda.
We made the point a lot on this show because it's true that the entire purpose of the Democratic Party's immigration policy is to change the population of the United States in a way that guarantees they win every election going forward. This is effectively electorate packing. It's an assault on democracy. It devalues your vote. It's happening right in front of us, and we've said so out loud. And every time we do say it out loud, the usual liars and dummies who imagine themselves to be the gatekeepers of our national conversation throw a fit. They become apoplectic. They call us the usual names. Boo-hoo. And then after a few days, and this is the most interesting part, they inevitably go back to bragging in public about how they're using immigration policy to change the population of the United States in a way that guarantees they win every election going forward. It's unbelievable. And then expect us not to notice. Jennifer Rubin is a columnist at the Washington Post. Rubin is probably the dumbest person ever to have a newspaper column. She's also highly aggressive. So she does this a lot. She's got no self-awareness. And she did just the other day in print, hoping no one would notice, but we did. Here's what she wrote, quote, Democratic hopes that demography would deliver Texas have not been wrong, but perhaps just premature. The 2020 congressional races suggested that while the fight for Hispanic votes remains competitive, the sprawling suburbs around major Texas cities are increasingly moderate. Oh, in other words, crows Jen Rubin, the great replacement plan is working. It's helping the Democratic Party. That's the whole point. Well, thanks for telling us that.